Despite the brand turning 120 years old this year, it has been revealed that Leonardo DiCaprio has made it official. He is in a relationship with Rolex, which that's gotta be at least 90 years older than he typically likes to go for. But jokes aside, what does this Leo DiCaprio news really mean? Is it important? Let's dive into it. Watch Pro on February 14th was the first, so shout out Watch Pro, to really showcase the fact that there was a rumor that Leo DiCaprio was signing on with Rolex. And in this article, they really showcased the fact that, there was precedent for him being a watch brand ambassador. He worked with Tag Heuer in 2009. And this is still the case, very much so now, and we'll dig into it even more in a second. But Leo has always been very active in terms of being an activist for climate change and conservation around the world. But we now know it's no longer just murmurs and rumors. As of February 25th, it's official. Rolex on their webpage, which on their Rolex family page, maybe they're moving away from this testimony sort of nomenclature. I mean, it's all the same, right? Whether it's friend of the brand, ambassador, we can see through it. Quite frankly, if we scroll down to this Watch Pro article, who's in the cover of this Reach for the Crown campaign, which notably is coming out just weeks ahead of the Oscars. It's none other than Leo DiCaprio himself. But anyway, getting back to the news itself. So Leo's officially an ambassador. What does this mean? How is this all gonna work? Well, honestly, the first thing that I was concerned about when I heard about this is not so much why Rolex would want Leo on board. That makes a ton of sense. It's why Leo would join up with Rolex. And the reason I say that is because in 2023, there's a watch brand, which I'm quite fond of, I have to say. You should definitely check them out, ID Geneve. And ID Geneve is they believe in what they call circular watchmaking, right? So having as little of an environmental impact in their manufacturing processes as possible. But anyway, so in 2023, he was revealed to have invested 2 million Swiss francs into the brand. And of course, ID Geneve not only loved this for the influx of the cash and a person who is clearly concerned with the environment lending his name to what is ultimately not the most well-known brand in the world. But here he is, like you can see, he's wearing an ID Geneve watch at whatever function he was attending. And does this testimony ship or Rolex family ship mean that he won't be able to wear ID Geneve watches and showcase the watch brand that he's invested in? And I don't think that's changed. The funding that he's given ID Geneve has not been pulled. So he's still very much involved or tethered to ID Geneve as well. So why sign on for Rolex? I mean, look, ID Geneve is probably not super thrilled with this news. Like I said, it causes a perhaps conflict of interest on what watches are on his wrist, and especially the most prominent front-facing scenarios where now he will be expected to be wearing a Rolex at the Oscars or other award shows. How that translates into film, I don't know. With Wolf of Wall Street, I know Watch Pro has, put in their article here, Leo DiCaprio wearing a golden Rolex presidential watch in Wolf of Wall Street. It actually wasn't a Rolex, it was a Tag Heuer, believe it or not. Here's the thing. Rolex is a nonprofit, and Rolex is a company that makes billions and billions in revenue each year. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting out of the news that they would no longer have the Formula One partnership and that it's now going to Tag Heuer, which is fantastic. We love Tag Heuer. One of the things that was sort of circling upon this news is that perhaps Rolex wasn't making as much of an effort to keep that partnership due to their concerns for the carbon emissions and environmental factors of the Formula One sport. And this was mentioned as well in Coronet magazine, where you can see here on this website, it said, each year, 10 teams and thousands of workers travel around the world to compete in 24 races in the name of entertainment, a carbon footprint estimated at 223,031, whatever unit of measurement that is per season, 49% of that coming from travel logistics alone, according to F1's most recent report, according to this Coronet article. So Rolex, whether you believe that as an explanation or not, Rolex is clearly invested in conservation efforts, and that's something that they showcase on their website. And they're not alone in this. I mean, plenty of brands have these sort of environmental endeavors. But Rolex's program is referred to as the Perpetual Planet Initiative, which supports 3 major fields of action: ocean conservation, wilderness protection, and the preservation of the living world. And you can see on their website, they're really doing a lot and investing in these efforts. And they can, because they're the most successful watch brand in the world and they're a nonprofit. So they don't run in the same way that these other for-profit conglomerate or brands think. So that really explains the link between Rolex and Leo as two entities that seem to really want to make strides in conservation efforts. And you've got Rolex's war chest and a guy who will quite frankly want to leverage the best brand partner to get his message and the message of environmental conservation out to the world. And so in that regard, I really don't think Leo could have picked a better brand than Rolex. And I think most of you watching would agree that as a testimony or Rolex family member, you know, with people like Roger Federer, where he has seemingly endless access to whatever Rolex he wants, that's a good trade-off. I mean, whatever the financial compensation on top of that access to Rolex watches is I'm sure, you know, at least financially fulfilling as well. But it's very easy for someone like Leo DiCaprio to commit to wearing Rolex watches in a very front-facing public way. This is a guy who we know likes nice timepieces. You know, he's worn Nautiluses and other things like that. If there's any watch brand that's very easy to commit to and that there's very little to have to worry about being involved with in terms of wearing various timepieces on the wrist, Rolex is an excellent choice. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that this partnership is going to have the same sort of, let's say, Ryan Gosling and Tag Heuer feel, where every movie now you're going to see Leo, wearing a Rolex watch. I mean, quite frankly, especially in certain period pieces, I mean, if he's going to be, I don't know, in like a cowboy Western movie, certainly Rolex didn't exist yet. And the art's always going to come first. This is what I ultimately want from you. Number one, hit that subscribe button. Number two, after you've hit that subscribe button, if you have no desire to wade into this whole celebrity conversation and watch ambassador conversation, what I'd love for you to do in the comments is put any sort of random questions you would like for me or any members of the Time+Tide team to answer, and maybe we'll do a sort of mailbag video where I answer your questions. Sound good? Well, I hope so. Leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and as always, see you on the next one.